after my Excel stint, I was known to be the guy who found Flipkart. So I had an incredible deal flow. So I'll talk about misses first. I got connected to Ritesh from Oyo very early. Before he went to Peter Thiel program, I met Harsha from Swiggy very early in their days before they raised the first round. And I had my own reasons to reject them at that time. And that's how every time I realized that what was the reason I rejected that company, and then I realized that none of it matters. You only have to think about size of the outcome.
Today we had Abhishek Goyal on the pod. Abhishek is the founder of Tracxn, which he recently took public. Abhishek is also known as one of the most prolific angel investors in India. He's known for his investment in Flipkart. In this pod, we covered what drove Abhishek into angel investing, his investing process, how does he source deals, pick deals, win deals, and how does he help founders, his biggest wins and misses, the biggest learnings from them, advice for operator angels who are looking to start angel investing, and much more. All right. I am super excited to have Abhishek Goyal, founder of Tracxn, on 1947 Operators Podcast. Abhishek, welcome to the show.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Let's dive right into it, Abhishek. What drove you into angel investing, and do you remember your first angel investment?
So, Shiva, I spent 3 years with the venture firm, Excel Partners. So, this is 2008 to 10. And probably over these 3 years, I met maybe a few hundred companies. So, when I left Excel, some of those deal flow continued to come to me. And so, it was a natural extension from my journey there. It wasn't a thought through decision that I want to start doing angel now because of certain reason. So whatever companies I was meeting, some of them came back later also. And during one of those instances, I ended up meeting Delivery. Uh, I met Mohit through a common friend. I was trying to see if he's open to joining me. And when we met, he told that he's actually starting Delivery with Sahil. And I ended up meeting Sahil afterwards. So it was a very natural extension of that journey. And I felt that my first VC deal was Flipkart and my first angel deal was Delivery. So I felt that this is an area where I'm sort of lucky because it's very hard to hit upon two big ones in the first go. And but I was sure that this was not something I wanted to pursue it as a full-time career. I wanted to build a company. I wanted to build something. I wanted to take a problem and solve it for next 20 to 30 years. And but because of this initial good jump start, I wanted to pursue this as a hobby, and I continued to do that. Over the last 15 years, in some form or other, I kept investing. And today, I had the fortune of backing more than a few hundred companies now.
Wow. We're going to dive into it shortly. And one of the first few investments as Flipkart and Delivery. Uh, Insane. But Abhishek, how do you source deals? How do you pick deals? How do you win deals? And how do you help your portfolio companies?
Correct. So I think because now I pursue it as a hobby, my deal flow is very, very lean. Unlike funds where they pick a market, meet like few tens of companies, 50 to 100 companies to make a decision. My deal flow is very lean. I usually meet like one company a week, sometimes two, but it's usually that much only. Most of my calls are less than like usually 15 to 30 minutes at max. And I usually clean my pipeline at the end of the week, which means that whatever I can decide, I decide. Whatever I can't decide, it's usually a no. It's a very lean pipeline. I am able to make at least 10 to 20 investments in a year with that protocol. With like not spending more than and maybe hour or 2 hour a week. So that's my usual process. And one of the few things that I have discovered over 15 years is that it's a two-way process. As much as you evaluate what you are looking into, company founders also evaluating why should they get you on a cap table. And because you are an angel, you are not like competing with like unlike a fund where company will accept only one term sheet. Usually, company pick between 5 to 10 angels in the round, right? So you have to be able to add some value because of which they will pick you along other angels as well. So I have seen there are 2, 3 things because of which people end up picking me. One is obviously because I've spent 15 years in this ecosystem, I'm able to help them a lot with fundraise. I can write a lot of introductions for them when they're raising money. The other thing is that because of this history, I've also seen a lot of companies being built. So they also get some advice on what to build a company, how to do, think about GTM, what org structure to build. So that is another area where people have said that I've been able to help them. And other part is obviously signaling because you have a good history of backing good companies. It acts as a signaling for next round investors. So, but broadly speaking, there can be a number of values, but founders look at what value you add and do you sort of among all the commitments they got, do you make it to top five is what it usually boils down to.
Got it. And yeah, I think the operating experience that you bring to the table is what's very attractive to the upcoming founders. And Abhishek, how do you evaluate deals that you want to do? What triggers you to invest?
So I think it's interesting. Your decision making process is completely different when you're deploying somebody else's money versus how you deploy your own capital. You can depend now. I depend a lot on my intuition as compared to doing a lot of research. Um, when I was investing, I would probably want to write like 5 to 10 pages of each for each company before I say yes. Uh, it's also an age thing. With age, you get develop more intuition towards things. So today, like first thing that I ask myself after meeting a company is, uh, does it look too large to be true? Or in some ways, I come somewhat scared after that meeting that company. It's mostly some of the larger ideas are scaringly big. So
Mhm.
I want to come back with that feeling that, oh my God, this is just a very large company. Why, why am I not building this company? So it leaves you with that kind of excitement. You don't know the number, but it feels very scaringly large. And you come home inspired, you come home scared. Right. So that's a feeling I'm looking for. You almost feel that itch that maybe I should be building this company, right? So that is definitely there. I also look at if founders are emotionally connected to the idea. I
Mhm.
realized that journeys are very, very tough. Um, Chips are always down, and there are more naysayers than people who are believers. So if founders are emotionally somewhat connected to the idea, it keeps them going in the dark days. So I now look for some emotional connect. At least one of the key founders should be emotionally connected to the problem. Um, Third is, which is I've added, started to add more recently in last maybe 2 3 years, is the founder looking to sort of build this company for long run? Are they looking to make this company profitable, eventually take it public, and then after going public, maybe run it for another 10 years? Is it something which is opportunistic 5 year exit horizon for them, or is it something they want to build, or do they want to take this idea to the grave? Right. So these are broadly three things you look for, and usually you can decide all these things in a single call, and because the pipeline is already quite qualified, so it is easier to pick those within those ideas with this framework. But one thing that has really changed over 15 years is outside applying more intuition. I've also increased the time frame with which I look at companies. Earlier it would be 10-year window. Now I think about 30 years. Like how large is the outcome in 30 years, and that has really changed for me.
Got it. And Abhishek, what kind of check sizes do you write? And I'm assuming you're mostly coming in at angel, pre-seed, seed check. And are there any sectors that you're focused on?
Correct. So I have now built a lot more in philosophy around it. So I almost feel that for some reason, if you get very lucky and you get to meet Apple of this generation in early days, right? It won't matter if you invest at 2 million valuation or 10 million or 100 million or 500 million. Company should be much larger in outcome. Like I'm looking now for 50 billion outcomes in 30 years, not 10 years. I don't think in 10 years it should be a unicorn. I think that if the founder continue to build this for 30 years, can it become 50 billion outcome or 100 billion outcome? And there are very few such outcomes getting created. If you look at globally, every year, like handful of companies cross 50 billion. So you have to be really lucky to be in that vicinity to get an opportunity to speak to them. So if you do get an opportunity, why constrain yourself in a sector on a stage to bind yourself, right? And Other example actually close to our home is Infi. If you had an opportunity to invest 3 lakh in Infi IPO, that would have become like 100 million today. And this is outside dividends, right? You would get any dividends on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what stage are you at. I think mostly you are looking for size of the outcomes in a much larger window. So in a 30 year, can it become a 50 billion or 100 billion outcome? That is what I look for. My check sizes has remained angel-like. So earlier I was doing more 5 lakh to 20 lakh checks. Maybe in last couple of years it has increased from maybe 10 lakh to 50 lakh now. But I remain sector agnostic, stage agnostic, all of that. Very few constraints. I think the only constraint I put is that it has to be like a 50 to 100 billion outcome in 30 years. That is why I care about more now.
Got it. And Abhishek, over the course of, I think you've been investing since 7, 10 years. What's something that you know now you wish you knew it earlier?
I think good companies continue to surprise you. You always feel that, oh, now this company is growing much slower and maybe I should take an exit. But maybe 18 months down the road, they break some barriers and they suddenly start looking much more different now. So I think you have to continue to believe. Uh, all pictures have lot. Like if you are close to a company, you will always see negatives about that company and you will always feel anxious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think good companies have continued to surprise and you have to continue to believe in them. And despite when chips are down, you need to just stay put. Like in public markets, they say like the best performing investor is a dead investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't touch their portfolio. I think it's also true for startups where there is a lot more drama than a public company, but because there is a lot of variability, disruptions are happening, there is a lot of surprises all the time, but you just need to stay put. I think if you pick a winner, you need to make sure that you sit it out for 30 years and not get disturbed or not get anxious in between.
Got it. Long-term investing. And Abhishek, we'll talk about your portfolio companies. Let's talk about few of your biggest wins. How did they come about? You can talk about the story behind you investing in them, and also we'll talk about the biggest misses. Meaning you had a chance to invest in a company, but you ended up not investing, and the company ended up doing really good down the road. And what were the biggest learnings for you from those lessons?
So absolutely. No, I had a plethora of misses. After my Excel instant, I was known to be the guy who found Flipkart. So I had an incredible deal flow. And so I'll talk about misses first. I got connected to Ritesh from Oyo very early. Before he went to Peter Thiel program, I met Harsha from Swiggy very early in their days before they raised the first round. And I had my own reasons to reject them at that time. And that's how every time I realized that what was the reason I rejected that company, and then I realized that none of it matters. You only have to think about size of the outcome. So in case of Harsha, I met and I felt that how will this, he's a very sweet person. So I thought he's going to run a company which has 100,000 delivery boy. How will he manage it?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? People learn it over time. And Ritesh was 17 when I met. It felt very hard that he can build a very large business, but he scaled it really fast and grew it much faster than everybody else. So I think the more constraints you put, the harder easier will it be for you to miss out on the big winners. So you have to reduce the constraint and just focus on one thing: how large can it become? If this company is a dream bull run, if all stars align, they break all barriers, can it become a very large outcome? That is the only thing that matters now. Now coming back to how I met some of my winners. So Flipkart was, they were actually, we had a lot of common friends. They were also at Amazon when I was at Amazon. So we had a lot of ex-colleagues which are common. And one of the biggest thing was that they had insane Twitter reviews. Everybody used to buy from them and shout out about how great the service is on Twitter. So it was almost a sitting duck for you to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of big questions which were not answered, because of which people were skeptical about backing them early on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got connected through a common friend. I eventually met them at an event, but we had a lot of common colleagues who would have connected us very soon. Delivery, I got connected through Mohit, through a common friend. He was also from IIT Kanpur. So I was asking people for great people in Gurgaon ecosystem, then and somebody connected me to Mohit. So got connected through a common friend. Darwin Box came to me through Sahil. So Sahil was a customer to them at that time, and he was really excited about what they're doing. So he said, it's a great company, you should look at it. So somebody wrote a very high raving review about them. Rupeek happened similarly. My one of my friends was classmate of Sumit from Rupeek.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned that this guy you have to back, right? So in almost every case, somebody wrote a really great review saying that this is a person you have to back, and that is a great starting point for a person to look at you.
Got it. So mostly been, friends referring and speaking highly of them, and you ended up investing in them. And they must be what, 100, and some of them might be 1000x. Well, if you don't mind, do you mind sharing, at what valuation you came in, one or two companies, and where are they today?
So in Flipkart, we bought 25% of the company for $1 million in the first round. Uh, so it's a very meaningful, I think, return for. I don't know the exact number, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a big multiple. In delivery, I bought first at 50 paisa per share, and then eventually later at maybe 20 rupee per share. So now it's like 600x on the share price.
Oh, wow.
And in many other companies, I have done 100x. And I think I realized that I had sold in few cases when I touched 100, 200x or 500x. But I
Mm-hmm.
realized that all of these companies continue to do well after you feel that they've achieved a great peak and you should cash out. I think that's why I feel the secret is in just sitting it out despite all the noise around the company.
Yeah, yeah, that's been the one of the biggest learnings for you. And Abhishek, what was the founding story of Traxn, and who was the first believer?
Correct. So it's interesting. Actually, Neha thought about this idea first. So we were both programmers turned investors, and we were both building some of our tools to make our life easier. But I think she once came to me and said that, you know what, I've built these tools, but I think you can actually build a company on top of it. And I was the first believer. I said, I am doing another startup right now, but if you do start, I will give you some money.
Hmm.
And then I think she went to Stanford, and sort of the idea got put on the back burner, and then I got free in between. So between her first year and second year of college, we started working on this full time,
Hmm.
and we got incubated in Lightspeed US. Our idea was very simple. We were both investing in tech companies, and we were doing almost everything manually. So
Hmm.
we thought of two things. One, some of this work is repetitive in nature. A company meets me, I do certain set of things, and that same company meets me in different fund, they should do similar set of things. So we thought that if somebody does it centrally, it becomes more efficient. If a company meets 20 funds in their fundraising cycle, we can at least bring like 5x or 10x efficiency.
Yeah.
Second, we thought was that we are practically using no technology to do our jobs, and we can use a lot of technology to solve some of these problems. So it felt a very natural way of thinking about it. And then over time, we did research and we realized that, oh, public market data companies have, they are very large, they are growing, they have grown for decades now. So there was a parallel to draw, so which reinforced our validation or our thought process. And then we started to pursue it for that.
Got it. And Abhishek, I had a question in mind. Two now, they start conflicting. Abhishek, we were talking about this a little earlier where, we're going to see a lot of founders and operators, they'll get some liquidity and they'll start angel investing. Uh, if you were to, or let's say, I'm one of them and I want to start angel investing, what advice or framework would you give to me where, I can figure out these, sourcing, picking, winning, and helping founders?
So I think one of the biggest thing I feel in Angel Playbook is you have to back people around you. So you are backing great ideas, but you're also backing great people. So focus on first degree friends who are starting. Make sure that you help them enough and you are able to pick winners in them. And then find some friends who have good judgment and share deal flow with them. So when you are doing deals, share with them. And likewise, ask them for differences when they are investing money, get some deal flow. Uh, while you are doing angel investment, one of the other things to worry about is that not get too much deal flow. Then it becomes a full time job. It's not as much fun. So I always tell people that share deals only when you are investing. Don't share me great deals which you are encountering. Wherever you are investing, you have already decided. So there's a big proof point for that, and that I'm happy to look at. So that makes sure that you never get more than 4 or 5 deals in a week, and they're highly qualified. Somebody you respect has said a yes. So between these two things, I think you can do quality deals without stretching, without making it a hobby which takes away too much of your time.
Got it.
And the biggest outcome of this whole exercise for the person who's already had an exit is it sort of keeps you very, your keeps your life very exciting. You meet people who have great, incredible ideas, so it stretches your imagination. Plus, a lot of these folks inspire you. So you don't feel that you have become irrelevant or you are lost in your own world, living in a. You don't feel you are living under a rock and you don't know what's happening otherwise. So it keeps you very relevant. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you inspired. So it's a great way of keeping your mental elasticity very high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally agree with it. In fact, I had Akrit Vesh on the podcast, and he said, one of my favorite things to do is reading portfolio updates. And he said, I get to learn a lot from that, and I'm able to become a better operator because of that. And I think it's a great framework, Abhishek, where you're backing people, in your network, and if you're able to pick the winners, then winners can help you get into other winners, and you can filter it out by what you suggested, only sharing deals where you've committed to, or asking your network to share deals with you that they have committed to. And Abhishek, one more thing. Earlier, of course, it was venture capital was not a known thing in India, and now it is evolving. It's maturing. There are different pools of capital or sources of capital one can reach out to you. If you were to start a company again, how would you think about constructing your cap table?
Correct. No, I think you can be very mindful about who you get on the cap table. And I think in Tracxn, what we did was that after we did a first angel round where we got 4 or 5 people. Sachin Mini invested, Sahil Barwa invested. There are a couple of more friends invested in that round. Then we did a series, and after Series A, we did an angel round where we raised $1.5 million, but we got people from different streams of life. So to give you an example, when we were going in the IPO process, I think the fact that we had Mr. Tata as an angel, Nandan Nilekani and Mohandas Pai from Infosys as an angel, it added a lot of credibility to us. So similarly, we had like all kind of people, and in different dimensions, they have helped in different ways. So getting some people who have good reputation in capital markets, or people who can connect you to investors in private market, people who can help you think about M&A, people who can help you think about US market. So you need to figure out practically budgets and then make sure that you have some diversification there. That is really helpful. And usually I tell people that if you can't think of anything, get 5 good founders who have raised the reasonable amount of money. If nothing, they will tell you something about building, how they thought about GTM or scaling up, and they will connect you to some investors. So in every round, you can, even if you get 3 introductions from each founder, you have 15, 20 warm, high quality introductions to build on. And that can create great momentum. So that is my advice to people when they are starting to construct a capital. So I tell people that in every round, leave some space of 5 to 10 angels. It need not be a big amount. You can keep 100, 200K, 300K, but keep budget for 5 people and keep enough people along. They will all add perspectives and their network.
Yeah, and my co-pilot Alfonso couldn't have agreed more. He said, absolutely makes so much sense. Where keep room for operators and founders who can help you with company building, introductions, and many other things. With this, Abhishek, he wants to get in now. So he's asking, Abhishek, you've been one of the most prolific angel investor in the country. You took Tracxn public. You've gotten a lot of success. He's asking if money and attention are not needed anymore, what would you work on?
So this is a very interesting thing. I always tell people that assume you're going to get 100 million at the end of the road. Then how will you spend your next 30 years? So take money out of the equation and decide what you want to do. And do that today. You don't have to wait for the money to come. And that is the true way of happiness, because then you're not thinking that, why am I doing this? This is not something I like. And this is what we decided when we started this company. So I always picked up my career. So I left Excel, and after doing the Flipkart deal, it practically not didn't make sense to anybody.
Hmm.
But I always thought that if I were to make equal amount of money in all paths, which path will I take? And I thought this is the path I wanted to take to spend my life. And so this is what I will continue to do. Uh, if and I, we keep talking about it. If we have the luxury of going back in time, would we pick something else, knowing what we know today? I
Hmm.
think this is the problem which is closest to our heart, and we want to spend another 20 years to build on this now. So I'm doing, I would do otherwise.
Got it. What a beautiful framework, Abhishek. And again, back to your thing. You've gotten so much success. You know, and Abhishek, how much of your success would you attribute to luck, and why, if you do attribute to luck?
So you have to be lucky to succeed in any form. Like there are a lot of, but I feel that the bigger factor is exposure. I think knowing enough about yourself and knowing enough about the world really helps you become more lucky. Um, So luck favors the prepared mind. So you have to be prepared. Luck will, if you're not lucky, you will never make it. And but it's not in your control. So there is only so much you can do. What you can do is to be prepared. I felt to remain prepared. Two things help: knowing a lot about who you are, what you like, what you don't like, not getting caught in FOMO. If everybody likes partying on Friday night, you don't have to like it.
Hmm.
You almost keep doing it because all your friends do it, so you assume that that's how fun should look like.
Hmm.
So getting to know yourself and getting to know about the world, exposure, businesses, where are great markets, what are people doing, that really keeps you prepared for when the luck strikes.
Got it. Be prepared, get to know yourself, and know how the world is shaping up, and then double down on what's something just uniquely for you or natural extension. Just like for you, it was a natural traction was a natural extension, and investing was a natural extension. And Abhishek, you know, what's your relationship with money?
Big, big question. So I see. So actually, I come from a community of, like, I grew up in a Marwadi family. So we, I thought it's unique to me, but then when I grew up, I started to slowly realize that it's not me, it's that everybody else has been doing it. So what Marwadis do is when they go from their place, they go to a new city, they open up a shop, they become profitable, then they invite their relatives to open up another shop.
Hmm.
They use, in some form, they use their money to enable people around them. So money is a tool of taking people around you forward along with yourself. And they don't give it that money for free, they give it on a loan. So they get interest. So you are making money and you are taking people forward.
Yeah.
I have essentially realized that that's how I think about money. So for me, money is a tool to earn more money and to take people along me forward in their lives. And that is
Hmm.
what gives me most pleasure.
Hmm.
Um, Money is obviously a tool to live a comfortable life, but I don't enjoy a flamboyant life. I try to keep it comfortable, but not splurge. So
Hmm.
I always count money, how much I spend. So I think at a personal level, you need it to buy comfort so that you are efficient, and rest of it is just a way of taking people along with you. So you have to take the village forward along with you. You can't just be alone doing well and nobody else around you. That's how I feel satisfied.
Hmm. Money is a tool to enable people around you. Abhishek, with this, uh, congrats on what you've done. Congrats on going public, and really, really appreciate you for coming on the pod. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shiva. It was great to be here.